things. We have one half of Get With the Programming, CrossFit GQ's Man of the Year cover photo, creator, and
she lost her train of thought.
Great. Creator of Jeopardy, which, dude, I was dying the first episode. I couldn't. It was. Why you gotta beat up on my boy John though?
Listen, John earned every lick that he got. All right, like I love John. I respect John. I'll defend John. I defend John in like a brotherly way or like a sibling kind of way. As like only I can shit on John. If anybody else in the comments, like now we have to fight. Like that's my relationship with John.
That's a big, that's definitely a big brother type of way. But then in this episode, you start letting him make rules up at the end of your show. All of a sudden you're like, hey, we can do it this way. Hey, oh wait, no, because you know that his idea was wrong.
Oh,
it was so wrong. I was like, no, God, no.
Yeah, that's why I lean on Barkley. Like, I've watched Jeopardy. However, like it's kind of one of those things. Like we don't have any like hard rules unless we like decide that it is a hard rule.
Yeah. So, I was like, no, they can't know the question and John
or the number or the money or whatever.
John, no, John, no.
Yeah, it doesn't make. I should probably know these things as the host of the show. However,
yeah. But he lost me money too because I bet the over under on how much money he was going to make in this one.
Bet?
Oh, with my buddies.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't. They should do it on Heat One. That'd be cool.
That'd be actually pretty fun. I love that with Tyler is like he's created such a fun, awesome thing. But sometimes we'll be in a chat and we'll just be like, Tyler, do this because it would be cool. And he's like, do you know how much work?
Like,
me to do so
all the prop bets and stuff.
That would be a cool integration, right? Who wins Jeopardy? That's and by how much?
That's what I freaking lost because homie decided to lose $1,000 at the beginning again, and I was steadfast that he wasn't gonna do it. It was like a Vellner situation. I was like, he's not gonna do it. He's not gonna come out the gate.
That's a good analogy.
And lose $1,000.
Yep. Yes. No, Pat Vellner is always good for a 35th place finish at the CrossFit Games once.
Yes, the first one.
My wife's about to be hurt now.
Listen, I'm a huge Vellner fan, and the first year it was a bummer. The second year you were like shit, but by year 3 you just anticipated it.
Maybe
so if there was if there was anything above that, you were like, oh, he's gonna rock it this year, but then he saves it for an event later. So yes,
true. He does make a dramatic comeback at the end. Although I think I said this, I don't know where I said this the other day, but I think his best chance of not punting one in the stands could be this year. The limited number of outdoor events that we're going to have, which usually
are not his thing.
Not his thing, right? North Park he owned, but if it was like outside North Park, that's where is it in a pool? Is it a lake? We'll see.
Running, is it?
I say that now, and he'll,
he will.
He'll do it.
He's got to make that same effect that he always has, and get all of his fans anxious and nervous, and then have his big comeback for sure. So
but now, like if he does it, you're like, good. He's if he wins the first event this year, it's like, oh damn it.
Yes.
This is not how we want him to start.
No, not at all.
Let's just laugh real quick at Sevon's Kill Taylor this morning.
Oh man.
That was fire.
That was so cool. Like I knew the concept because some people don't or couldn't really maybe like conceptualize what they're trying to do. Like I got it. I knew it. And then, man, once someone, the first domino of someone jumped in to do it, like that thing, once people figure it out and jump on board, I actually texted Savannah. I was like, I could see this, especially during semis when they want to do it, be more engaging and bigger than what Taylor versus the World was. Not necessarily maybe like number of views, because like it's gonna be hard to beat those, but for like people just enthralled of what's happening, I think it's gonna be really cool.
When that first guy jumped in, and it was just the conversation that they were having with it, and when Taylor's like, "No, Hiller, eat a dick." That's why. Freaking, like
that was a no rap. Like, Tyler was nervous, like really nervous.
And then he put his head in his hands at the end, right before the kid put his dumbbell or his kettlebells down.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. It was so cool. I had a blast. How was it for you? How was it for you commentating Taylor versus the World?
It was great. I did what was the second one they did, but it was 24.3. So it's the gymnastics one.
Yeah.
And usually I actually had this conversation with Bill because we have such extensive background in broadcast coverage of what people are doing. And we forget to just kind of let our guard down and just be people
Right.
and be biased and just be like we're having a casual conversation now, which you can't do on like a professional broadcast. That was super fun to just kind of be a fan.
Right.
So I enjoyed it a lot.
Because I was gonna ask you, do you like you went into the broadcast booth, you have people in your ear telling you what to do all the time, and you
Yes.
have to think and listen to so is it like one person? Is it like the broadcast booth in one ear and whoever you're commentating with in the other? Like, how does that work?
So it like this took a while to get used to when I first started in 2012. And you have basically you're connected to the truck, and the truck is where like all the screens are, and there's a director and a producer, and they have comms with you the whole time, whether they want to jump in or not. But even other people can come in that are connected to me. So I don't always know who's talking to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be talking and they're not even talking to me, but I just should be aware of what they're maybe saying to my partner.
Okay.
And I hear myself louder, and then I hear my broadcast partner, and then sometimes the sideline. So at any point in time, there could be 3 or 4 people talking at the same time, which
So
took some getting used to.
that's like a split personality situation where you have 3 people in your head at one time.
Yeah, it's weird because I think the first time, and this happens to everybody, is like they'll be talking and talking, and someone will start talking to them in their headset, and they'll stop talking to listen.
Oh, but you're not talking on television, and you're supposed to be talking on television at that
Right.
moment.
So like I'm calling something as I see it, and what we see on the broadcast is like what you see on TV is what we see at the same time. So we're not watching the field of play. We're watching things come to us in real time. Sometimes we get a heads up of maybe what lane we're going to on the next cut, but it's a lot easier to just kind of sit back with like if you had a mic and just picked what you wanted to talk about, which is what most people do on the couch.
Right.
It's not that case. So like you're trying to see it in real time, absorb what's happening, articulate the moment while listening to all this. Like it takes some getting
Can
used to.
you see everything like outside, like you see what's on the monitor, but like in your peripheral vision, can you see the other lanes? Can you see the rest of the field of the play?
It depends on where they put us, but most of the time they try to put us in a vantage point where we can see the whole field. Usually we'll have like the best seats in the house, honestly, is in Madison, when we were outside, we were basically like 50-yard line at the top of the stand so we could look down. And the idea there is that you see what's happening, but like say for me, if I'm the color commentator and I'm working with the play-by-play, like the play-by-play is calling the action as it happens.
Okay.
Who that is and what's happening. And then the color commentator is saying why this is and how this is happening, right? And so for me, if he's talking, another part of my job is like I could look over the TV screen and look at the field, and maybe I see something because the producers and the directors and the cameraman, they're just looking through their screens, and there could be something off screen that's happening, like, you know, not to pick on Pat again, but it's like, Pat Vellner's imploding in lane 1, and then we haven't even talked about it. I'm like, guys, we need, and then you have a button that goes back to the truck, and you talk to them back. So you mute your button. Well, the button mutes your mic automatically, but it's just called a talkback button. So I talk back to the truck. I'm like, hey guys, we need a camera over in lane 1. So whatever's happening. I'm like, all right, we'll get to it as soon as we can.
So you can tell them, hey guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can. Because sometimes like they'll leave a mic open to their cameramen. And so you hear them talking to themselves. Because usually like if they're talking, you won't hear them unless they push a button to talk to you. But sometimes that line gets stays open, and then it's pandemonium in your brain because there's still a lot going on.
So you said sometimes that they have like, do you guys have a plan? So like if athletes are going on the field for an event and it's lane, what is it? 5, 6, 7, 8. That's where like the big shots are, the ones that are doing well. Do you have a plan that's like, that's who you're going to talk about? Or sometimes is there a plan like someone, did more the first event than they thought, they're in a different position, they're in a different spot. Like, is there a plan going into each event?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. Yes, we do have a plan. So before every event, we will sit down as a team, and me as the analyst with maybe a statistician is like, we will give who we think will fare well in this event based off what the event actually is, right? And who's in the heat. So say it's something with swimming and running, and it's the first event of the week, and it's like, all right, make sure we're watching Tia Toomey and Chrissy Aramo and maybe Emily Rolfe in this mass start. And on the men's side, it's like, all right, Janikowski, maybe Ricky Garrard and Brett Fikowski, and don't forget about Pat Vellner for the opposite reasons.
Right.
Sorry, Pat. This isn't meant to be like a
yeah, we love Pat.
Pat might not want to come hang out with us one day.
Pat is one of those guys where he would pass the airport test. I don't know if you guys know about that test. Is, can I get stuck in an airport on a delayed flight with you? Right? Do we pass that vibe check? And I think Pat absolutely passes. But yeah, so to your question is, we do talk about that beforehand, and it's more of just to set the scene up of people are at least prepared of what might happen, right? So we're like, hey, listen, lanes 3, 7, and 9 statistically should perform well at this. So let's just be ready to talk about them. At least in the very beginning, we'll highlight them before the event starts. Like, all right, lane 3, so-and-so, here's why we think they'll do well, 7 and 9, and so forth. Once the event unfolds, it's
just real quick. Wow, Zombie. All right, guys. Tia isn't competing, but let's give her more camera time than the Heat winner. I remember.
Those are not necessarily our calls from the shots from the stands. We have no control over in the booth ourselves. But yeah, sometimes there is a drinking game of let's put someone on camera that isn't actually competing more than it's like the Taylor Swift cam.
Yeah. Oh, for the oh yes, that was horrible.
Which I was so over. I get it.
Yeah.
My wife thought it was hilarious because of how frustrated I would get. I was like, I just want to watch football. I don't want to watch people's reaction to football being played.
Yeah. I want my own reaction to football being played, and then I want the instant replay, and I don't care about.
I like to watch the touchdown, not the reaction to the touchdown.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So was it always like that, or has that grown with the sport? So was it always a team collab where you guys would sit down, or it was pretty much the cameramen, the directors, the producers said, this is what we're going to cover. This is where we're going to be. You have to commentate on these ones only. Has it progressed with time?
Right. There was never like, hey, this is only who we're going to talk about. Right. Early on, it was more of, we would figure out organically, because honestly, I think the first time they covered anything live was 2010 in Carson, California. That's when they first did live coverage of the CrossFit Games. And then it built from there. And it was more of just, they hired a production team that did basically every other sport in the world. But coming into CrossFit, it was really important is that you have to know CrossFit to cover CrossFit, right? You can't because it's so different, because pick any other sport in the world and it's the same field with the same rules and the same scoring and the same players, and it doesn't change, right? The game, how it unfolds changes is because that's sport. But CrossFit, it's like every event's different. There's 15 of them. The competition field changes every time. The athletes change heats every time. The weather changes. And sometimes like the events might change from what we thought it was in the morning and then to the afternoon in the early days, right? Like, so the way they've built it over the years is more just a product of just organic understanding of how to cover it by building it from the ground up. Are
you always the color commentator, or do you go back and forth between the play-by-play? How do you know who's doing what?
So when we did 2012 Central East Regional, they did basically like a casting call is the best way I could describe it, felt like maybe 12 different people to come cover the Central East Regional. It was going to be the first regional ever covered with live broadcast, and it was going to be on like ESPN3 or the Ocho, one of the ones that nobody watches, but it was there.
No, I saw it.
ESPN, we're on. And they just gave us roles when we showed up. So when I first showed up, they gave me a play-by-play role. I didn't even know what a play-by-play role was. I didn't go to college for this. This was never on my like list of careers that I would like to do, but how it all unfolded, I landed in a group of these people. And I think I was calling like the first 2 heats of the team competition at the regional. And then another pair would come in and another pair come in. And I was play-by-play. They got other athletes or level 1 staff to do the color commentator because they looked at them as either better athletes to understand the sport itself or more knowledgeable institutionally as far as what CrossFit is to be the color commentators. Whereas like I wasn't, I guess, perceived as that, but it was fine.
Okay, fine. You only went to the CrossFit Games.
Oh yeah, but it was
whatever.
And so I had to learn this thing, this skill that is because play-by-play is so much different. Like color commentating, I would say is like anybody can do. I'm not saying like anybody could crush it or do it well, but like we could all talk about CrossFit in the way we know it.
Armchair couching.
Armchair couching.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the best part of sports.
Right,
just sitting there is like, oh, I could have done that on
sure.
Right? Or as the commentators, like, oh, they should have done that unbroken. Or
what's wrong with the coach?
Yeah, it's not that heavy. It's that's the easiest job. The play-by-play is so technical because it's like how to welcome a new audience, the location where we're at, how to say every athlete's name, how to bring in your commentator, how to bring in the sideline, all right, we're talking leaderboard and we're talking lanes and here's the lane assignments, here's the workout. Like that stuff is what people like go to school for degrees. And I had to learn that crash course in real time. And so the part there was I would look at these color commentators and no disrespect to any of them. I'm like, why am I doing play-by-play? Like I am terrible at this.
Right.
And I'm way better at understanding and how to break down events in these athletes than these other people. But I did it for, I want to say 5 years. I did play-by-play and I loved it actually. Like I worked really hard to like I had to learn how to do it. So it was a bit of an endearment to me is because I worked so hard to learn a new craft.
Right.
And so I ended up being, I think at my highest level of play-by-play commentary, I was covering the entire team competition at the CrossFit Games. And then giving Sean Woodland kind of a spell for the individual competition for like the first 2 heats. Because, you know, like we got to save Sean's voice, right? Sean's the voice. We got to save that. Got to keep it pristine. Don't want to burn him out. You also don't want to use like it's tough when you call like 5 heats back to back because I don't want to sound like a broken record. I have to think of something new each time. I do got to save some of the good stuff for the last heat. And so I would cover those first 2 heats in play-by-play. And then I think in 2016, I got asked to do color for team competition and like split color. So I was like, oh, I just got removed from like what I thought was a very important role to me because I worked really hard, but they eventually geared me towards color. So worked my way through team competition, split that time with another analyst at the time. And then I had it full time the next year. And then the year after that, I got the individual role, I think 2018 or 2017, 2018, and just kind of worked my way up from there. So now I've predominantly done color commentary since 2017, but I'll still jump into the play-by-play spot. I think 2022, I did play-by-play for the European semifinal at Lowlands Throwdown with Mads Jacobsen. And it may be in my near future that it could happen again. Nothing's official, but I can hop back and forth, and usually people are in very defined roles when it comes to that. But I think the benefit that I've done both is that you have the relationship with your partner there is that you guys got to know when not to talk over each other, right? There's certain times where this thing that's happening is the play-by-play's guy's job, right? Like you take it, you run with it. I'll just wait till I feel you've made your comment and then I'll hop in when I need to. And having done both sides, I can just innately know when I need to step out and when I need to step in. And I think that makes the relationship much better when it comes to the call.
Do you have you mostly worked with the same person? Have you cultivated that?
Yeah.
I was going to say, have you cultivated that over years or because you and Bill are seamless?
Yeah. Bill's my guy. right?
Yeah.
Like we've been buddies since we first started. Bill and I didn't work together in broadcast. I want to say maybe not till 2013, 2014 for sure is when we started working together more. But Bill was the individual male color commentator for the CrossFit Games with Sean. And then Tanya Wagner was the female color commentator with Sean. So I was always doing teams at the CrossFit Games. So we never really worked together. We would all hang out together. But it wasn't until regionals where they would just pair us up and we would cover all of it, right? So that's when Bill and I started working together more exclusively. But man, I've worked with Bill Grunler, obviously, Katie Hogan, Josh Everett, Cherie Chan, Jeff Brightwell was my play-by-play when I switched over, Brandon Domain, Joel Gadet, Sean Woodland. I've worked with Tanya Wagner. I've worked with, oh gosh, I'm leaving out some names and I feel really bad about that. But I've worked with a lot of Mads Jacobson, as I said earlier, and then some guests that come on the shows. Like I've worked with a diverse group of people in all different kinds of roles too. But to me, it's like this. We're just
Hanging out,
talking about CrossFit.
Hold on, let me get some of these questions in here for you.
Oh.
Kenneth the Lap, Chase, has CK shirt ever been seen or heard from again?
CK shirt guy. Do you guys know the story behind CK shirt
No,
guy?
I don't, but it's Kenneth's my boy, so I was like, all right.
Yeah. So at the semifinals last year, there wasn't any coverage for the first day of individual competition initially. And then I got asked to basically try to cover it somehow, some way. It's like, hey, can we do this? And in my experience with CrossFit, for me, it's always been yes, right? Hey, yes, we'll figure it out. Like, I'm just glad to get opportunities. And so we ended up rigging basically a StreamYard setup. Well, I was using Restream, but it's the same thing. It's like, okay, I've got my laptop. I called a buddy. It was actually Wex Appeal podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
Dean
Sure.
Wexler.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in Orlando and I was like, dude, do you have, this is like 24 hours. Like I had maybe 36 hours request notice. Can you do this? It's like, sure. I was like, do you have your podcast equipment? It's like, yes, I do. I was like, okay, cool. So I get his podcast equipment. I set up my laptop. They hardwire an internet to my laptop. And then I've got 3 dudes with cell phones on like 4G because there was just no Wi-Fi connection in there. But what we did was just like this, right? I would give everybody a link and their link went to their phone and then they became a roaming camera. And so I cover the CrossFit semifinal with a rinky dink podcast.
I think I remember that actually. Yeah, yeah.
So we're sitting there and I'm sitting there with Adrian Conway. Oh, Adrian Conway. So there, add another one to the list. Yeah. Awesome. Fantastic human being, by the way. And there's this guy behind us who is right between us wearing a Calvin Klein shirt. It's like black and gold CK.
I do remember that.
Yeah, yes. Now that you're telling it, I remember it too.
Hasn't flinched. And some of the comments were like, hey, who's the CK guy behind you? I was like, I mean, we're doing a podcast. So I was like, I'll ask him. And I turn around and I ask him and I was like, hey, do you know anybody here? And he's like, no. I was like, have you ever followed CrossFit before? He's like, not really. And then I'm like, this dude's a serial killer and he's gonna murder everybody here.
Yep.
This guy just got out of jail. This was the Calvin Klein outfit he was wearing 9 years ago when they put him in and he just got out, right? They hand him his bag. He puts his 1997 Calvin Klein shirt on with a gold chain and he is here to murder all of us.
Yep.
But he was just the nicest guy, but he became the phenomenon of semifinals, at least for the first week of CK.
He did look like he was from the Jersey Shore a little bit. Like I could have seen him on, yeah, for sure.
I was like halfway through the interview, I was like, I regret coming over. I thought this was going to be funny, but now I'm a little nervous how this is going to finish.
Oh, okay. A couple more before I get back to it. But someone asked, sorry guys, I remember this chat's moving fast now.
Oh,
but was there a casting couch?
Look at the chat. I never look.
Oh, it's fun though. Some of them are fun.
No, I don't want to look. I don't want to focus on that. I get sucked into there.
Okay. There were some funny ones in there, but I'll get to them at the end. Yeah. Sorry guys. My bad. The one somebody did ask that I want to know is any arguments in the booth? I was gonna ask that anyway when you were talking, but you working in such close quarters,
Yeah.
you have to be able to feed off each other. Anybody ever come in there in a bad day, or you're having personally a bad day, and you
I would say there's been a couple times where if I was color, so I've worked with a diverse group of play-by-play guys, and play-by-play or play-by-play callers, I would say by stereotype, are very particular on how things are done, how things go, and that they're the captain of the ship. And I'm fine with that because for me, it's easy. You lead, I'll follow. That's the game. I don't have to think about anything other than listen to you. And if you say something, I'll add to it.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll work with play-by-play guys that want to be like the voice of the whole show, right? To like be the show itself, or at least it comes across like that. And there's one time, I don't know if I muted his mic. I might have. I might have.
That's pretty awesome.
But it was just like we missed a really important thing, and they were trying to create like a Al Michaels, "Do you believe in miracles?" moment, and like heat 2 of event 2 of nobody. And I was like, dude. So yeah, there's just one time for me. Although not, I'll give one where I was terrible. So I'll do these. All right, because I don't. It's I've had my moments.
I was gonna say you have to have some days where it's just you're not feeling it. You woke up late, didn't get food.
Yeah. I'll be honest, there's lots of days like that. And by the end of the day, it's a long day. It's a lot of looking at a screen. It's a lot of stuff in your head. It's a lot of like you're on. Like for me, when a 8-10 hour broadcast day is over, I'm done. Like I'm so wiped because I'm just like an exposed nerve of adrenaline because it is so important to me, but I get so into it. I'm wiped by the end of the day. So I'll even say this was the East Coast Classic. I was doing color commentary. No, sorry. I was doing play-by-play with Bill Grunler and Tanya Wagner. And this is like Ben Bergeron's event that I think it was like 2 years that lasted. But sometimes what happens is in the way it was set up, the DJ could control where the music or audio went. So if we're calling, we should never, like if you're in the stadium, you should never hear us talking. It's always the MCs on the floor. Right. I hate going to the house. It's called going to the house. Yeah. I hate it. I hate the sound of my own voice, and I hate looking at people who can hear the sound of my voice. Well, like it's just a weird loop. I'm clearly in the wrong line of business. However,
I was gonna ask you, like,
it really is one of those weird things where like that's a whole nother conversation of like having to go back and listen to yourself to improve your craft.
Yep.
Like
it's hard. It's cringe sometimes.
It's hell. Like you ever leave a voicemail and like play it back, and you play it back, you're like, 1, I sound like an idiot. 2, that's what I sound like.
Yeah.
And that's at what, 20-second voicemail. Yes. Now I get to do that for 10 hours for 4 to 5 days. It's awful. But back to me being an asshole.
Yes, please.
So he kept pushing the button that pushed us to the house. And I'm like, please get us off the house. Like we're interfering with the MCs on the floor during the event. But he would also push a button that would put his music in our headsets at like full blast. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, it's like the second day, and it's probably the 5th time this has happened. And so like he's blasting music in our headset, and I take my pen and I just chucked it at him as hard as I could to get his attention. And I after it was all over, I went up to him and I apologized, but that was not my proudest moment. But I was just,
at least you're human, man. Like I get it. I understand it.
Yeah. So it was,
So now you're, well, they keep saying you're the voice. Hey, Sarah Cooper, what's up, Chase? You're the voice of CrossFit. Yeah, you kind of are now. Right?
Oh no, that's still, I appreciate that. Thank you. But like that's Sean Woodland forever. Like the first time I met Sean, it was at the Central East thing. And we were in this line because they're just trying to figure out who these people are and what we could do. We were in this line of, read this clip for like a voiceover. So you read a paragraph and then you record it and then they play it over a video or something. And I was behind Sean. I'd never met Sean before. I'm behind Sean. It's at like the back of a van too. It was a very weird setup, right? Back of a van. Not like we were in the van, but it was just like, as the gate was up and he's there. And it was where they could get the most like sound without echoing. And I'm behind Sean. He reads. I'm listening to him be Sean. And I walk up. I'm like, I'm not your guy for this thing. Whoever that was, just use him. I will just waste your time. I'm terrible at reading in public too. I'm going to trip over my words and probably say the wrong thing. Also, it's like top 3 fear of mine is reading in public. So, I'm not your guy for this type of voiceover.
So when you move, like when they stop doing the coverage for the games or whatever, and you guys come over to YouTube and you start doing your get with the programming and you guys all kind of start your ecosystem. This is a more important question. Does your wife like it better that you're not on the road all over the place all the time as much? Maybe like, does she enjoy this more that you're on StreamYard and YouTube?
Like without a doubt, yes. Right. And I like if I retired from ever leaving to travel for anything, my wife would be first in line to support that decision. And my wife and I's relationship with our family dynamic is my wife she's a partner in her law firm. She's a full-time attorney, like total absolute savage of a lawyer as far as like what she does. And it's not litigation, it's like corporate finance and contracts, whatever, like things that make my brain melt of boredom. Like she's really good at it. But hers is like, she's basically on call because she represents banks that they give out these huge business loans and whatever. So her schedule is so hectic, and it could be, hey, it's 2 hours of work today and I've got a great day. Or it's like 3 weeks of up at 6, bed at 2. Like that stuff.
Wow.
And for her, it's if we get to the weekend, like it's her time to unplug, unless it's like a bad week where she has to work. And it's tough for what she's doing all the time for me to just like leave for 4 days, right? Because her schedule is so unpredictable and volatile. If I leave for 3 or 4 days at a time, that just puts a huge stress on her and her work and kids. And so that is tough. So yes, if I were to ever stop doing that, she would be.
So when she leaves, because my wife just went away with my son for 4 days, and I felt like, hey, I'm going to go grocery shopping and really help out the family, right? Like I'm going to do this. I only had to go for like maybe 6 things. It wasn't even the type of grocery shopping that she does on a weekly basis. And I go and I need like toothpaste, soap, paleo string cheese, and couple other dumbass things.
Because our kid is a picky eater, so there's like 5 things.
Fair.
So
So I go to the toothpaste aisle, which in theory should be the easiest thing to pick out for the family and buy. I stood in front of the toothpaste for about 7 minutes, not knowing which one she buys. Like I was like, I literally called her crying, being like, what toothpaste do we use? What do we need?
Yeah, if it's kids, it's all the way at the bottom. Right?
Yeah, that one I got. His was fine. Ours, I had no idea. And I was just like, and it was more of like, I can't go buy toothpaste. Like how I'm the most like butch, strong individual there is on the planet. I can rotate tires, change tires, change your oil. And I can't freaking buy toothpaste while my wife is gone. So
it's a humbling experience.
Now, when your wife is gone for, a week, or she's buried in paperwork, or you got 2 kids now. What ages?
I have a son who's 6 and a daughter who's 4.
Okay. Those are fun.
Yeah.
4 is getting out of that tough range.
Well, she's getting out of the tough range, but then she's getting into the more like independent range, like the I can do it myself phase. Or I know what's best phase. And to paint a picture, and you guys It's like she is a red-headed, blue-eyed devil at times. Most of the times she's like a little angel, but man, think of every stereotype you've ever had. And as soon as like you tip into the red zone, it's over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's the first one is the easy one. Your daughter, the second one is
yeah. My son's easy because he minds really well. I just think that's a product of hard parenting when he was younger, right? And so to your overall question, like if my wife has to like work or like last minute thing came up, I can't come home for dinner, or I'm going into town for this, or I can't come out home, like no problem. Like don't even miss a beat. Don't even bat an eye. Take care of what you need to take care of. Like I can handle everything at home. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Kids to bed, makes dinner, like go to the grocery store. Like that's and that goes to our relationship because like there is nothing we would have as a family without my wife. Nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. Right. Like she works so hard and sacrifices a lot outside of herself for us to afford to have anything, literally anything we have in our lives. Right. And so I take it upon myself is to make sure I'm doing everything else possible to make that her only stressor. But, you know, I forget dates and pickups and paying certain things or games or to articulate maybe if I'm going out of town or I have a little thing here is like I add to the plate of stress, but I do my best to take as much of that load as possible. And that's the inner working relationship we have.
So now when you, I was going to go there, but to me, it's interesting. Most of my friends either have all boys or all girls, and you have a boy and a girl.
So I'm a family of boys. So I have 2 younger brothers. My wife has a younger sister. So the house of Ingraham and Robertson, when they came together, especially for the first kid, it was all like, you know, my dad, all boys, my mom, and it's like, you know, it'd be really cool, a granddaughter, because we don't have one. Mm-hmm. And then my wife's parents were like, it'd be kind of nice to have a grandson because we don't have like, hey, someone's getting disappointed, guys.
Yep. Are you the only brother that has a girl?
No. So my youngest brother had the first boy, and then my middle brother had the second boy, like up 6 months later, maybe. And then almost 2 years is when my wife was pregnant. And so we were about to find out what we were going to have. And then my brother's wife was pregnant, and they were like, oh, on the same track. And I think we found out what we were having before they did. And we found out we were having a boy. So that was like three boys. And then my brother, his wife, they were having a daughter. So they had the first girl.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And I was about to say, the second one. Only Ingram men only make boys like that.
So, and I was the total, before I had a daughter and before I knew I was going to have a son, like I was the total classic, like, I can't have a daughter because there's dicks everywhere. Like that's who I was. Or I was like, I can't have a daughter. There's me's everywhere. I knew who I was in middle school and high school and college and post-college. I'm extending that timeline pretty far, but to be truthful,
yeah,
I'm in the world somewhere. Yeah. I feel like I cleaned up my act. And so I was like, I don't want a daughter at all. Like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I just worry about my son. We make boys. And so my dad, before we found out what we were going to have, he was like, you are for sure having a girl. Like the way you have been your whole life, you deserve it.
Yeah.
Like, Dad. And this is like the day of the whole, like, we did like a smoke bomb or something in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And so all of our friends were there. And I was like, all right, Chase is finally having a kid. Everyone was praying that I was having a girl. So you like, boy came out like plume of blue smoke, and I was like, in your face, all of you. And my dad comes up to me afterwards and he shakes my hand. He goes, I knew you could do it.
Oh my God, I love how men talk to each other.
Oh, gosh,
That's
horrific.
the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh my
And so
God.
when I found out I was having a daughter, the way there's a video of this on Instagram somewhere, but like the way the smoke worked, it was like this puff of gray. And I thought it was blue because I wasn't looking, right? We have our backs turned and it goes by and I was like, oh, and then after the gray comes the pink. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Oh,
But I will say this so everyone prays for a healthy kid. I feel like we don't need to belabor that too much, but like, I was like, man, it would be really cool to have a boy just because not just because like men make men kind of a thing. I was like, I wanted to raise a young man to bring someone up into the world better than what I was.
Isn't that what we want as parents, though?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And my dad was the same way. And now that I'm a dad, I view the way he raised me much differently through the lens of a father than I did through the lens of a son. But then once I had basically everything I ever wanted, which was a healthy baby, I had a boy, right? Once like that happened, like I think 6 weeks after he came, I was like, I kind of want a daughter now.
Don't feel bad. I was the same way. The minute that we didn't even do a gender reveal or a sex reveal or whatever. We like
whatever that word is.
Yeah, whatever.
Just a quick picture of some blue onesies.
Yeah.
Like that's what it was.
That was it. And when I found out that she was like, "Do you want to know?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to know." She's like, "It's a boy," and I was like, "Yes." Like, I did it. I was like,
yes.
I carried the sperm into the hospital.
Yeah.
I put it in the seatbelt. That's my son.
Yeah, you delivered the seed.
That's right. Exactly.
You did your job.
100%.
Sure.
100%.
So don't feel bad. I was totally pumped about it too.
Were you I mean, you were excited that you were having a girl? Like when you found out you were having a girl, did you have those initial like, holy shit, I'm having a girl kind of
for sure?
Nerves? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I dropped to my knees for fun's sake of like, oh, this is it. This is everything I deserve.
Yep.
And you know, I was actually having a conversation with a guy who had a daughter, and I knew a couple guys that had a couple, and I was like, hey man, like I have my wife gives me shit for this all the time, is that I have no idea what it's like to be a woman, which I'm like, duh.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
No, I have no idea. But the things that I don't know, it's not about like women's biology and what they have to go through. It's the things that I don't think about as a man is that I was like getting in her car and she opens her door, and in my car, my doors unlock when I unlock the car. Hers doesn't. So I would pull on the door handle and it's still locked. And I'm like, why? Can we fix this? She's like, absolutely not. We can't fix this. I was like, why? She's like, because I don't want my doors to be open to anybody else outside of this car except mine. I was like, holy shit. I never thought of that. Right? Or it's like, I have no time to work out. And I'm like, just wake up early and go for a run. It's like, I can't do that. Or it's like, it's too dark to go for a walk. And you know, I was like, okay, so these are the things that I don't think about. And now as we'll be married 10 years this August.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Wait, August.
Oh,
what?
wait. Yeah. August what?
August 16th.
Yeah. Think about it, bro.
The 14th, 16, right? I was like, is it the 14th, the 16th? No, that would be not. No worries. So August 16th, 2014.
We're the 8th.
Yeah.
We're August.
No way.
Yeah.
Same year?
2012.
2012.
Oh, 2012. Okay. All right. So you got 2 years on us.
Yeah.
My brother's birthday is August 8th. So
There
it's
you
a
go.
good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Across the games this year is during your anniversary. So.
Yeah. And we're not going because I have other plans for that.
There. We're trying to plan our 10-year right now too. So
yeah.
But the other things that I don't think about is, especially now that like, especially after she became a mom, was the physical changes that are just about permanent to your body after giving birth to a child. And then the social pressures of breastfeeding or that kind of a thing, which was wild to think. And just to watch her handle all this, on top of being a professional woman in her field, which is, I don't want to say male dominated field. It just means more men want to be lawyers.
Yeah.
That's just what it is, right? For the same reason, like more women travel, more geared towards more like nursing.
Right.
It's not a women dominated field. It's like
we're caretakers. We don't generally
do it.
Yep.
Right. By nature.
Yeah.
And so there's that pressure and like the struggles and stress of that for it that's real. Right. And then it's like, okay, do I go full time? Do I go part time? I like the mom guilt and all, like, it's just those things that I'm starting to learn that I never once thought about because I never had to. I didn't have sisters. And so I had to seek advice from other people. It's like, what do you do with girls? Like, I don't know. It's like, maybe they'll just raise them like a boy and they'll just be like, hey, wear t-shirt, shorts, and, you know, let your hair grow.
That's right.
Yep.
Right? Eventually you'll start looking like one. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Yeah, look like one for 3 years. Maybe your hair will grow. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But the best advice I got was, because I was genuinely nervous. And he's like, the best thing you can understand is that your daughter will be the first male figure that she has a relationship with. Right. And that like meant a lot to me because I was like, oh, whoa. Right. Because it's like she will watch you, how you interact with your wife and how a woman should be treated by a man. She'll know how someone should treat her. Right. Going forward, the relationship between her and her father, like all of those things. And I was like, whoa. So now what I was excited with my son is like to raise a good young man. And now for my daughter, it's like, I want to show you how you should be treated by anyone in your life that you care for or cares for you. Right. So that she doesn't have to seek something out that she didn't get with strangers. Yeah. So that's like I take that almost more seriously than I do anything with my son. I was like, you'll figure it out, dude.
That's what my grandfather always said. He had 2 boys and 2 girls, and he always said he raised his boys to be able to be a protector and a provider, and he raised his girls as their protector.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? And my grandmother was his absolute world. That's the only reason I have any compass when it comes to relationships anywhere. Yeah. You're not getting it on TV. You're not getting it anywhere else. Like, that's it.
You don't get it on Love is Blind?
I know, right? Yeah.
No. If that's on, if that's on at home, I'm like, I'm going upstairs. I can't do this. I cannot indulge in this ridiculousness.
We just watch cooking shows. That's pretty much it.
Cooking shows. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
My favorite one was like the man versus food stuff.
No.
You seen that? Or so it's just the guy. I can't even remember his name, but he would go to different cities and take on like restaurant challenges.
Oh.
So eat the 3-pound burger with 2 pounds of fries and take it on. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating. Lo and behold, 2 years later, it's like he couldn't do it anymore because it's basically killing him.
He was gonna die. I was gonna be like, how many seasons can this be? Because he's not.
So then what it turned into is like, all right, we're in Cincinnati, we're gonna hit all the hot spots, but then he would get like someone else to do it for him. I was like, it's not as cool. Oh, Adam Mitchell. Yeah, that's right.
There you go. Kind of the with the knowledge.
Good job.
No, I watch some of my favorites is like Tournament of Champions or Next Level Chef with Gordon Ramsay. I like that one.
We like the competition ones.
I like the competition ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Those and Chopped. Good. Are you a Chopped fan?
I have not watched Chopped.
Chopped is fun.
My kid wants to be an Iron Chef now. He has his own.
I love cooking. I'm not good at it. Well, I'm okay at it, but serviceable.
Yeah.
I won't poison you.
Well, that's good. That's good.
The other thing I wanted to go to, I don't know how much time we have, but this is a topic that I really wanted to ask you about because I've been noticing it and I think it's really cool, is that like you guys meaning like you, Pedro, you know, Hiller, Tyler, Lauren Cleo, Sevon, you guys have all been going on this like whirlwind media tour of going on like smaller version podcasts like mine. And you've been going on
podcasts, not a smaller version, just podcasts.
Okay.
Sure. Going on your podcast.
We're telling the truth here. This is my point to the story is that you're going on smaller versions of like of your podcasts. Right. Yeah. and you're doing it, and you guys just seem to, you say yes. You're like, hey, can I, like, when I DM'd you and you got back to me in like 2 hours, I was,
Yeah.
oh, holy crap. Okay. Yay. Like,
I think that it took 2 hours.
I don't even think it took 2 hours. I really
don't think it did either.
I don't think it did, actually. And you guys are all doing it. You're just being so generous and so gracious with your time, right? Because it helps us out so much. It doesn't really, it's not gonna like boost your ratings or anything. Or like if I put something on Instagram, 5 people are gonna see it. If you put something on Instagram, 10,000 people are gonna see it. And so I'm curious why, because everybody wants to be like, no, I'm not going on your freaking podcast. You don't even have 1,000 followers. I'm not doing this. You don't have. Yeah. So I just wonder, everybody wants to paint you guys as a certain way, but you've all been just so generous with everything, with your time. You have kids. You have 2 kids. Yeah. Everybody's got kids. Everybody's got
kids, full-time job.
Yeah, man.
A couple of them. For one, I still feel this way, but I was in this position of, I would get 5 views or likes on an Instagram post or 20 views on a YouTube video. And like, if anybody wanted to come on our podcast, like it meant the world to us. Right. So like, as anybody should that have been in the grind for a while, is like, it's always pay it forward. Right. And so for me, like the only reason, and I bring this all back to how I even got into media or the broadcast, was, I've told the story a few times, but the end of it is, I asked someone for help because I wasn't competing that year. This is 2012. I had an idea for some kind of show. This is on the old CrossFit Games update show. I knew a photographer in CrossFit. His name's Dave Ray. And I just like, hey, I have this concept for a segment on this show. Can you forward this to anybody in CrossFit media? Because at the time they all worked under one roof. And he's like, sure. And then 3 days later, Roy McKernan calls me on my cell phone and asks if I want to come try out to be on the broadcast team at the Central East Regional. Right. I was given an opportunity by someone who I've only met maybe like in person twice. And it was usually just because we were on the same competition floor at the same time. And there's 2 things I took from it. One, I will never ask for something I'm not willing to outwork anybody for. Right. So if I hate asking people for anything. I get uncomfortable inviting people onto the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Still to this day. Doesn't even matter who it is. I'm like, hey, do you want to come on our podcast? You don't have to. Do one of those things like, never mind. That was stupid. I'm sorry I asked that question. Like, I still like
that. To make my wife push my finger to push send. I'm like, I wrote it out. Just push. I can't. Push it. You do it.
I still feel like that. Right. But when it comes to asking for an opportunity, it's like, I'll never ask for something that I'm not willing to work my ass off for. So therefore I started not being afraid to ask for opportunities. And the other is if anybody else is in my position, I will do whatever it takes to do what someone did for me. And that's it. Yeah. So anything we post or any video we do or game show we make up or we don't do it for views. We don't do it for likes. We don't do it for notoriety. We don't do it for any of that. It's a byproduct of what we're doing because we love what we're doing. That's it. I started the podcast during COVID in 2020, and I got Bill to do it with me because I love Bill Grundler.
Yeah.
Right. I love Bill, and I love hanging out with Bill, and I love talking about CrossFit with Bill and CrossFit Games and programming. And I was like, we're going to start a podcast so that I don't have to just have a conversation every time we work together, because we may never work together again. So let's just start a podcast together and talk about what we love to do with the people that we care about the most. That's it. That's all it is. And it's the same thing now as it was then. The fact that we have whatever number of followers we have or subscribers on YouTube or whatever we've used, like it's the same reason and purpose. It's because we love what we do. We believe in what we're doing, and we just want to entertain people should they like it or not. And that's it. Mm-hmm. So of course if anybody wants us to be on a podcast, it's like, hell freaking yeah. Right. first of all, I'm more grateful than anybody to be invited on anything, more than I am for people to come on my show. Like the fact that anybody wants to hear me blab about anything,
We're
beyond me. Right? Like
pretty cool.
it is cool.
I'll tell you this, like when I'm a guest on the show, I feel like I'm taking over by talking too much. It's
Not
like
at all.
always in the back of my head. Even though I know you asked a question, you wanted an answer to it.
Yeah.
You're talking too much. You gotta reel in. But that's it, right? It's always pay it forward. And the more you can support the people around you, the better everything else is. That's it. That's the only reason. And if you're doing it for anything other than that, okay, you do you. But if it's like, I want to be famous or get notoriety or make sure people know who I am and what I said and what I programmed and wrote, like if that's you, it usually doesn't shake out that well because you're intrinsically driven for surface level notoriety. And that will always fade.
And then you're just going to get pummeled every time you don't get the views you think you should get. Like I'm never hurt about if it gets the views, great.
Mhm.
It doesn't. I'm still not walking around like
you're like, oh damn.
Yeah, like
fine. But you're competitive and you want to do better.
Of course, sure. But it's not gonna ruin it's not like I can't go to work or go play with my kid or I'm gonna be thinking about it.
Life will go.
Right, exactly.
I did the same thing with like comments.
Oh yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say I love the fact that you use the word competitive, but not in a way that's like, if you're better than me, then I don't have the opportunity to win too.
Yes.
I love that statement where it's like a rising tide raises what is it?
Rising tide raises all ships.
Raises all ships. And you know, you grow up feeling like, at least when I grew up, you feel like you have to be better than someone or you have to kick someone out in order to be in a space. And I think the coolest thing that I've seen, you know, because she's followed podcasts for a long time and then got me to join her and invited me into this space. But the best thing I love about all of you guys is that you guys do go on each other's shows and you bring something different. So yeah, you and John Young are talking about analyzing or the programming and whatever, but you can bring up a different perspective. You bring something different than he does, or it's the, you know, the battle of like, no, John, you're wrong. No, Chase, you're wrong. And that's what you're for, you know? Exactly. And it's not this like, I can't help you because if I help you, then I'm going to fail. Yes. And I think that that's the biggest thing that we've learned from this ecosystem that she's built with Sevon first, and then meeting all of you guys and then having the opportunity. It's really, really cool to see because it shows you don't have to beat someone else down to get up.
Right. Which is the nature of the world these days, which is kind of unfortunate, is that there's less people trying to build things for themselves, but they're going around with an axe and cutting other people down to make sure that they're better than them because they lower them. Right? And what it should be is that we are competitive, but it's not that I'm trying to compete with you. I'm trying to compete with myself to do better, better than what I'm capable of. So when I watch other people do amazing work, I'm like, I need to work harder, not because I need to be better than anybody that's doing whatever X, Y, and Z over here, just because I see what hard work is proven to bring to other people. I need to challenge myself competitively to be better than me. And I've said that whenever I, coach in a gym, like we write people's scores on the board. It's like, you're not comparing like person A to person B, even though we still do that naturally. But it's like, you need to be competitive with yourself, because if you're not, like, what's the point? Did you think you made it? Is today the day where you're perfect? And we're like, no more, I'm done.
That's it.
I'm 41.
Yep.
And if I have half my life left, I'm just going to sit here and bask in I made the peak of the mountain.
Right? So the podcast ecosystem is like, I don't know, the CrossFit community. Like we're just all working to make ourselves better and rise together, live longer lives. And
but what you're doing is you're not just doing it to make yourselves better, because that's a product of that. Because when you make yourself better, you make what you guys do better. And if you are better at what you do, you're making the ecosystem better. If there's if there's better content, not more content, better content in the space that is all centered around the beauty of CrossFit, the community itself, whether it's the competition side or just the person trying to get fit and, or lose 100 pounds. Like if all that content is better, it's better for everybody.
Yeah. No, it's really cool what you guys are doing right now, going and helping out other content creators, and it really is, because the narrative around you guys is not that, and it makes me sad because I'm watching you guys all do it, and other people might not see it, but I like she said, I'm the podcast nerd, so I'm on YouTube all day, and I see you guys on every, I even saw you on What Are You Talking About? And that was really, like, it was a really good time. It really was.
That was great.
Yeah. And it just, the narrative around you guys isn't that. And so I'm trying to push to show what it actually is, because.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, narrative, or I bring that to the same thing as, like, I don't know, comments on wherever it is, right? It's like, if you're doing it right, people will hate the fact that you are. That's it. And if you're doing it right and you don't have people hating the fact that you are, you probably need to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Because people who don't like other people for no reason other than that they're popular or successful is usually because they're just not that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like I don't want to get too like introspective here, but like it's usually just it's like bullies, right? It's the same thing. It's a product of a self-conscious lack that they know they have, so they're just going to like project it on somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So like you should see like my DMs during a CrossFit broadcast. It's fantastic, right? Just it's wonderful.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Or everybody has a petition.
Yeah, you almost listen. I apologize for my community, because I know that the petition came out of my community, and as the official spokesperson of the color parade, I'm sorry. Like, my bad. I will make sure to officially write a letter about that. And
no need. Yeah,
you are uncancelable. My fault. I didn't put that note in the computer that day.
That was a good day.
That was crazy.
That was a little extra, but
it was very extra. I did go home that day. I ran home. I think I just ran upstairs from the deli, and I was like, they're trying to cancel Chase for what? I don't even see it.
Like
no, for nothing. For a lack of understanding of what the job is.
Right.
I was like, what is happening? That
was pretty stupid.
Yeah. I'll admit that was a long day.
I can't even imagine what that does to you. Are you just sitting there like, are they about to destroy my entire reputation over nothing? Because
the problem is like culture. I'm working, right? Like there's no time to figure out what's going on. Your phone is exploding. Your emails are exploding. My DMs are exploding. Got people calling me. People that are in CrossFit coming into the booth and asking about what's happening
in the middle of you working.
Oh yeah.
Oh no,
it was a wild day, and I was like, I don't know.
You're like, I'm trying to.
They're like, did you say something? I was like, when have I ever said anything? Like, whatever it is, the claim is going to be right. You would have thought I dropped like, I don't know, a racial slur.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the broadcast. And no, it just turned out that people don't like being critiqued for their performance in sports in CrossFit.
Yeah. I remember, and I think also too, it was just because a lot of it was during that kind of Me Too movement or whatever. And men just,
let's be honest, right? I fit a certain mold these days that is not high on the totem pole.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've talked about that a lot on our show, on our shows, but it was just like men couldn't talk about women. I can remember even telling Sevon at one point when he was headed to the games that like when you talk about female bodies, when you talk to them about their body, just don't say bodies, say physique. Your physique looks great. Your physique, wow. Like, you know what I mean? It just at that time frame.
Yeah.
If you say the word if you said the word body, your body this, your body that, women were losing their freaking minds all over the place. It wasn't just, you couldn't just be like, hey, your body like looks so strong right now. They'd have been like, dick, what do you mean my body looks strong right now? What are you talking? What are you trying to say? Like, and
you saying I'm fat?
Yeah.
You can't, you know what I mean? Everyday life, you walk around and like a lot of my friends would be like, Garrett, you look thick. And I'm like, thanks. Like, That's right. Yo,
Damn right I do.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But if you just walk around and just say that to anybody, they're going to lose their
I
mind.
can see that from a savant perspective, but like if you're talking about people competing in sports, like what else are you supposed to talk about?
Like a bigger person on the rower. That's just
Hey,
part of the
That's
sport.
just the way it is. That's biomechanics at its most basic level. I mean, think of any other sport. And this might be a hot button phrase I'm about to say. The fact that athletes in CrossFit cannot handle real sports critique shows me they are not ready to be professionals.
Mm.
You want this to be a professional sport so bad, yet the least professional thing about this sport is you.
Right.
That's
Right?
truth right there.
Let's look at the NBA. If someone is driving up the court and they are 6'2", let's say men's basketball, and they're driving into a group of men that are all 6'8" or above, the commentators will say, this is a shorter individual. They're probably going to have some trouble driving to the paint because of that.
They're going to
It's not your natural body type to play this sport.
Mhm.
Same thing for an offensive lineman who's under 300 pounds or a quarterback that is under 6 feet tall. It's always about what the body does for the sport. It has nothing to do with your body as it looks on a magazine or whatever. Like my critique of what your performance is, maybe relative to your size, whether you're tall, short, strong, thin, endurance, strength, that's all it pertains to is your ability to compete in the sport of which you signed up to do. That's it. I don't care about how you look. I don't care if it's about attractiveness or a number on a scale. Like it doesn't matter to me. And like not once does that ever enter my mind. But if it's a 250-pound barbell and you weigh 125 pounds, I will say this is a smaller athlete who's probably going to struggle with the weight on this bar because it's twice her body weight.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's what people who want to understand the sport need to know. And at the same time, if we have 30 thrusters into a 50-foot handstand walk and it's at 165 pounds for men and 115 for women, I'll probably say, hey, going unbroken here might not be the best plan if you don't have the shoulder stamina and endurance. And if you decide that you wanted to go unbroken and you did, and then you started blowing up on handstand walks, I'm going to draw attention to the fact that I told the audience that is probably not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend it. And I will draw attention to your performance to show why that happened.
Mhm.
But no, now someone's going to take it as like, well, he's just saying that they suck at this, or I was like, no, if it's the same reason why a quarterback throws into triple coverage and gets picked off. And then y'all better hope I never get one of these. They bring out the little coloring thing and they're like, all right, look at, he drops back. And then he looks and look at all these guys right here. Why would you ever throw a ball into triple cover? And they circle it, right? Heaven forbid I get a pen. Right? You thought it was harsh before? You give me the drawing thingamajiggy.
Like, yo, your core strength sucks. Here's where it sucks, right here.
Right here, right in this little section.
Right here. And that's it, right? But professional athletes understand that. They live with that every day. Think of what type of hate and trash talking happens on ESPN or heaven forbid anything Stephen Smith says to professional athletes. Think about that. Like the next broadcast, if the NFL comes up, just search Twitter for Tony Romo. And it's just thousands and thousands of hate for Tony Romo.
Oh, he got
whatever player it is, right?
Yeah.
So CrossFit athletes, wake up. If you want to be professionals, this is just part of the game. I will never personally attack anyone for their performance. If you take it personal, it's not my problem. It's your problem. I didn't say you were a shitty person because you went unbroken and then failed at your handstand walks. I said it wasn't a good idea. I just happened to be right. And I will draw attention to the fact that I was, because it's my job to do so.
Yeah.
Literally in the job description.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was very weird. And you definitely can't. I mean, it happened everywhere too. It didn't just happen in CrossFit for the women. Like talking about women's bodies. It happened in tennis. It happened in swimming. There was there was a whole bunch of stuff that it was like, oh my God, don't say that because you're sexualizing women.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a sport and they have to use their body to do the sport. The men aren't taking it that way.
Nope.
And we talk about the men a shit ton more than their weight and size, and he looks.
Dude, yeah, it's like this guy is way too overweight to play.
Didn't Adler just like somebody just called Adler chunky on air
His
somewhere?
own wife.
Yeah, his wife called him chunky or
own wife.
whatever.
Annie Sakamoto said it.
Yeah.
He's looking a little fluffy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we said that about a female athlete?
No.
No.
Like,
No.
could you imagine?
Mm-mm.
And some of them are fluffy sometimes.
Yeah. There was like a headline for every training camp in NFL about like Zeke being fat.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Okay.
Like weeks.
Yeah.
Like every year, off season, Zeke's fat. Zeke watch. Right?
You know, he doesn't care
No.
at all.
Now I know, like, I'm not saying they shouldn't care if like something bothers them, but man, like to take something so personal when it has nothing to do with you. It's like when Hiller talks about you are just a amoeba black blob that I am talking about. It's not about you, even though it is about you.
Yeah.
Right. I can see how that person may take it personally because they're just getting eviscerated by whatever it is. But on his end, it's not personal at all. Now, I don't go to that level on a worldwide broadcast, but if you do something great, I'll say you did great. If you did something bad, I'll say you did bad because the audience needs to know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, I'll put it on you, Chase. Didn't you just say you went and you've been losing weight lately, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You lost like 15, 20 pounds, something like that.
I've lost 15 since Jan 1.
Okay. So back before you lost the 15 pounds, we could say you were fluffy.
Yeah. I didn't see it. Then my wife was like, hey.
But you probably wouldn't though, because you can do all these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're still able to do CrossFit. You're still moving around. You're still whatever. So if you're in a fluffy season, it's not like, you know what I mean? We're not saying like.
I always tried to fluff up in the off season to get stronger because that was always my biggest weakness, and it never panned out.
Or bulk week, whatever.
Yeah, I'm bulking up. I'm like, yeah, I'm bulking up. It's like, here's the thing: any weight I gained did not correlate to more strength gains, and then I just started sucking at all the things that I was good at. So I was like, screw it. I'm gonna stay lean, and I'm just gonna be good at what I'm good at, and just hopefully I don't program deadlifts this time.
Yeah, right. I know. Oh my god.
So you think that that's part of the reason why this whole idea of trying to make CrossFit a sport is kind of like putting a damper on it, because it's like you keep saying you want it to be a sport, but like you guys say, like being a professional sport, like there's no training wheels. Like they are shoving you out on the bike or they're throwing you in the water with no life vest. Like, and do you actually want it to be a professional sport with that kind of coverage?
Yes, and I'm not saying it's like anyone should actively like shit on someone and they just deal with it because it's sports. I'm not saying that at all. Like, what I'm saying is like, if you want it to be a professional sport, there are specific things that come with being professional athletes that most CrossFit athletes, unless they played collegiate anything or anything semi-pro or pro before coming to CrossFit, understand. But what they want is they want everything, right? And I don't mean anything specific, but like, we'll just say broad brushstroke is what I see from the outside is like, they want all the attention. It's like movie stars, like people that become famous. Like, I want to become famous. I want to be a movie star. I want to be a rock star, but don't take pictures of me. Don't talk to me in public and don't recognize me because I don't want to be popular when I don't want to be popular. That's not how it works. You want to be a professional athlete? You will be in the spotlight. You will be critiqued. You will be loved. You will be revered. You will be worshiped, and you will also be hated. But you only want half of those because of your feelings. That's not how it works. With the good comes the bad.
And the majority part of being in a professional sport too are the pressers. It's part of your contract.
Moments. Yes.
You have to go up after an event and talk about how shitty you did or how great you did. Otherwise you get fined.
Right.
You don't go.
Or it's like to the same thing of good and bad. It's like, you want everything else to be professional around you, but you just want to stay amateur.
Yeah.
The professionalism goes both ways. If you want everything else to be professional for you, you have to be professional too.
Yeah.
And people just don't want that these days.
Well, you're obviously very recognizable with your career. And, you know, when you're at these events and stuff like that, and you are leaving the booth and, you know, people want to talk to you and people want to see you and interact with you, whatever. How do you manage that kind of fame, I guess you could call it? Because everybody knows you, everybody knows your voice. And when most people probably don't get the opportunity to see you in person because you are you know, on the mic and stuff like that. So how do you navigate everybody knowing you or your growth of people finding out
Yeah.
who you are?
So what you do is you walk next to people like Bill Grunler and you don't have to deal with it. I felt like I was Bill Grunler's professional photographer for like 5 years at the CrossFit Games. I was like, yes, I'll take the picture. Oh, you don't want one with me? Okay, cool. Truth be told, I don't have to deal with what, you know, Rich has to deal with, or Annie has to deal with, or Tia, like, or any of these superstar athletes. Like, I don't have to deal with that at all. Like, of the handful of people that want to say hi, chat, take a picture, it's like, no problem. Right. But I don't, it would be much harder if it was like a swarm, because I don't know, that's just a lot to attend to. And if you're an athlete competing, like, that's a big ask because like they're there for a reason.
Yes.
Right? Like, they have everything dialed in. And that's just the hard part with comes that I've never had to deal with anything hard like that. So for me, it's really easy. I'm like, yes, please. Happy to chat, happy to talk. Especially if I have the time. Like, if I have a time and I'm a break, like, I love to interact. I just love interacting with the community. But that's why, you know, I was a coach at a CrossFit gym for 5 years, owned my own for a decade, seminar staff. Like, I did all that to be in the CrossFit community as much as I can, because I just want to give experiences back that I got myself. It goes along with the media stuff or podcasts or anything like that. Is like, so many people gave me so many opportunities over the last 15 years of me doing CrossFit. If I can do anything remotely the same for somebody else, like, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So that's really it. It's not a, yeah, sure. It's like, no, this is what we should be doing. Right now, if it's 2,000 people that I don't have to worry about, that's a different conversation, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy for some people, but for me, it's like, no, of course, this is what we're here for.
What was your favorite out of the three? So you were a seminar staff, you were a coach, and you owned an affiliate. If you could, which one was your favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. I can give you like the best parts of each one.
Sure.
How about that?
Sounds good.
The best part of being a coach is being able to, I'll probably put coach only as last. I'll rank them. Coaching was great because you could come in, have some fun for everybody, and leave. You didn't have the stress of the business on your shoulders. On the business side, being an affiliate owner, there was times where I would have someone come up to me, and whether it was a big class or a competition we were putting on, they're like, remember, because I'm stressed with all the work and like a burden on my shoulders. Someone would always come by. I'm like, you see all this happening? It's like, you started that. That was cool. And the cool part about that, and it might actually be affiliate owner as number one. I'll put affiliate owner as number one, because I went to one of my members' weddings, and I was always on team don't date in the gym because nobody could handle it. They all thought they could get into it, but they didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
And went to a wedding, and I think the groom was joking. He's like, hey, we started dating in the gym, and Chase had a rule. We broke the rule, but now look at us. And then he goes, but Chase, I want to let you know how much your rule sucked. And he was like, this couple, that couple, that couple, that. There's like 8 or 9 couples that have met and gotten married and then started having kids that met in the gym.
That's so cool.
Like, so there's a lot more life there, which I thought was cool, and friendships. And as an affiliate owner, like, you're not just a business owner or a coach or a programmer, depending on what hat you wear. You're the group psychiatrist and the couples therapist and the janitor and the accountant and there's like, I would have people tell me that they were expecting before they ever told their like friends.
Family, yeah.
Sometimes their husbands. Right? They're like, hey, listen. And it was more just timing. They weren't trying to keep it from. They're just like, hey, I just found out we need to scale something. It's like, nobody.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I say more scaling wise than safety wise.
Like, you were a lot of people's confidant. And yeah, the more I talk it out, like, for an affiliate owner by far, which is why it was like tough to step away from that. The great thing about seminar staff was just next generation infusing new coaches and trainers with like your passion of CrossFit, which is what I try to do in the broadcast too. At the same time, is like, I hope when people listen to me, they hear how much I love CrossFit.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we know.
And I want people to fall in love with it like I have.
Mhm.
And that's the only thing like I care about. Obviously give the athletes their due, do my job as a broadcaster, but it's like, I hope someone who's on the fence, like watches this and is like, man, you know what? This is getting me fired up or into it. It's like, I just hope people like love CrossFit as much as I love CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not, because I love CrossFit.
We can tell.
Yeah.
We can tell. All right, babe, I promise. I've got 2 more questions and then we don't want to keep.
Good. Like, you guys tell me, I have like
question.
at least a half hour.
I was gonna say he's fine. Our kid is fine. If he's fine,
My
it's all
son's
good.
watching, God knows what. In the
Yeah,
other
ours
room.
too.
The only thing I have to do is go pick up my daughter from daycare, and that's it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So obviously, like we were just saying, we can feel and we can hear how much you love CrossFit. So Garrett and I were in CrossFit for many, many years, and with a lot of things that happened, we stepped away. And we, the more we talk to people, at least for me, and we've gone into Jethro's gym out here, CrossFit Chief Nation, and started kind of getting back into the sport. What would you tell somebody that was in CrossFit, loved it, and then the joy was taken away to try to get them to go back? Or not get them to go back, but like invite them back?
I try to figure out like what took it away to begin with. That's really where you need to start.
Culture.
Culture. And I was a coach for 3 years.
Okay.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved taking my L1. I always say, even if you don't want to be a coach, that was the most expansive, coolest weekend I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want to be a coach, just as a CrossFitter, like go take it.
I agree.
And I loved it. And then I became a coach. And then the environment that I was a part of, the community that I was a part of, the culture that came from that. I really stopped loving it as a athlete first, and I kind of fought through it as a coach because I love my clients, and I had some really good clients, and but there's people that ruin it for the rest of them, kind of thing.
She was trained as an old school coach. She was trained the old school way and grew up in an old school gym. And
like standards count, and
like get your ass below parallel and stop cheating.
Yes, stop cheating. And it wasn't received a lot of ways, and explaining, like taking the time to explain a clean and a jerk, and going through the progressions with a PVC pipe, and then you get to the barbell, and then warming up and cooling down and stretching and that kind of
everything
stuff.
you should be doing.
Yeah. You mean like coaching?
Like coaching. Like coaching. So it really
not lifeguards or traffic cops.
Right. Not like 3, 2, 1, go. Like here's the whiteboard, 3, 2, 1, go. There's the clock. Go pee. And
here's another lift.
Yeah.
Here's 30-minute Metcon. After all that, you're like, what the
what
are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great question. I'll go macro, micro, where most people lose touch with their love or culture of CrossFit. Is unfortunately the thing that makes CrossFit amazing from the affiliate side is also the thing that a lot of people struggle with at times. Is that we don't have a one gym fits all type of affiliate model. It's not a franchise. And that's the beauty of it. Every gym is different. Every gym has its own culture. So though you may lose touch with one, there are not always, right, other places you can find where you fit in, which should be the case, which I think is the best part about it. And I would tell people all the time, if they come to my gym, I was like, hey, this is really cool. It's like, great. Here are 5 other gyms next to us. Go try them all before you come back to us. Why? Because you may find something better. This is your first experience with CrossFit, or maybe you just had a good day here, right? Go try it all. And if you still think we're a great fit, love to have you. Right? What the hard part is like if the culture started great in the gym and then it went sour. That's always the shitty part, right? But at the same time, like that's just kind of how things go sometimes. And from the macro side is that a lot of people recently are complaining about the culture coming from HQ. Right. And so like, oh, I'm losing love with CrossFit because HQ this or HQ that, or we miss Greg, or like, and I miss Greg too. I love Greg. right? The only reason why I am here on this podcast and you guys think it's even worth your time to talk to me is because of what Greg started.
Yeah.
That's it. Period. End of story.
Mhm.
I am forever thankful for him and what he created and gave changed my entire course of my life.
Mhm.
Right. That said, how I fell in love with CrossFit, the friends I made through CrossFit, the life-changing physical change that I had, the meeting my wife because of where I was at, like none of that had to do with Greg.
Mhm.
Right.
The culture that we had in our affiliate, we created.
Right.
CrossFit didn't create my culture.
Right.
We had a little bit more of it back in the day. I mean, you're wearing an OG pukey shirt and I've got cult on my chest, but I also have CrossFit on top of my head. This still means the same thing it did here.
Mhm.
People need to stop looking at other people to create a culture for them. That's why we started the OG culture, oddly enough, for what we're talking about.
Mhm.
I got tired of complaining or hearing people complain. It's like, oh, it's not like it used to be. It's like, it still can be. You create your own culture. Now, people can still try to stifle it, whatever, but like never once during the time with Greg or Rosa or even now with Dawn is like, do I look for them to dictate what our culture should be?
Mhm.
I was like, hey, inside these doors, it's our own culture. We've created this based off my love and passion for CrossFit. And if you don't have it or you can't find it, then create your own.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I sit with that. I can get if you guys are disenfranchised with how things have changed from the top down. But if you're looking from the top to try to dictate how you feel, then you're forgetting the thing that you have in front of you. And that's the power to change everything around you. So you build your own culture.
Mhm.
They can make it easier sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm not turning a blind eye to some of the culture changes, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like they don't do what I do here with boots on the ground.
Because Jethro's gym, when we go over there and we go see Chief Nation, every time we go over there and visit, and you can look around and you can just feel
Mhm.
the OG culture. Like you
Oh.
can feel how it was when you grew up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before. So
Yes. And Jet has that energy that we grew up in.
Right.
You know, with our original CrossFit coach. So we were in one gym with our original coach, and then there was a falling out with the building that it was in. So he had to close his doors and we found another one, and all that kind of stuff, all the messiness that goes on with it. So we were trained in that OG style of like, no, your squat is a squat is a squat.
Right.
But
I was in squat therapy for the first like 6 months, and I could not get out of it. I just could not. He's like, your chest is down. Your chest is. I was like, I don't even know what that means, but like, I was. Listen,
Damn
I was
these ankles.
like, yeah, I was
Yep.
getting bendy, and
Yep.
I'm a big girl. I'm not flexy. That's not easy.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is like 12,000 affiliates around the world. They ain't batting 1,000 with all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Name 12,000 of anything and tell me you love all of them.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. That's true.
That's just what it is. I think there's way too much focus on imperfection as if that's the world's greatest like fault.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you screwed up. Therefore, you
has
are
to-
just a horrible. How could you? I was like, yeah, screw up every day.
Yeah.
Trying my best, and that's the part where I love about CrossFit, and that I think that really helps people on we talk about like the emotional side that people need to get a bit more in touch with these days, and not necessarily as like get over it. It's like, no, understand why you feel the way you feel. Or if you talk about mental health in a certain aspect, it's because people live in this world of that failing is actually like rock bottom. Like that's the worst thing you can do. They live in a life of it must be perfect.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder you think you're the world's worst friend or daughter or husband or what. Like, no wonder you don't give yourself a place to fail. But the coolest part about Cross is that we actually encourage you to fail. And when you do, we celebrate it more than your successes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the real world. Yeah. You tried to go unbroken. It didn't work. You failed that lift and you really wanted it. I know you really wanted it today, but truthfully, he's like, you haven't been working on it. So of course you're not going to get it today. Let's learn that lesson.
Yep.
And I think that CrossFit provides, I don't want to use the word safe space, but I mean this in the way it should be meant, is like CrossFit provides you a safe space to fail and be yourself. And that in turn helps you so much more than using filters on Instagram or whatever. Like all that fake stuff is like, yep, I sucked today in the gym and I've never felt better about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we kept going back.
Right.
We kept going back no matter what it was. Every time that we failed, every time, because it's like, I want to get that lift. I wanted to hit that number. I wanted to get that pull up. And you just keep going and going and going and back. So
I think most people struggle with themselves or their like hate whatever self-loathing issue is for people these days is like because you don't know who you are. And you will never find out who you are if all you do is win.
Yeah, you have to go through some sort of adversity. If you don't have
and the world is not designed to be risk averse.
Yeah.
Your whole job, and this goes with like people who maybe have whatever it is, right? Life is not without suffering. Life is not without failure. It'll be like that forever. And what people try to do, maybe being nice, but they're actually harming, is that they're trying to keep you from all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to keep you away from failure. So if you have no failure in your life will be great. It's like, no, because they don't know the real them, right? Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare you to handle suffering. I'm going to prepare you to handle failure. And you're going to do that because when you fail, the only thing you have left to fall back on is who you know you are internally, right? If you don't have that, you put who you are in the thing that you're failing at. I failed to lift, therefore I failed as a person.
Yeah.
I failed to pick this date that I forgot, therefore I failed. It's like, no, you fail to lift. That means nothing. You still know who you are deep down. Why? Because you failed this 10 times and you realize you're the same person when you got in the car than when you got out of it.
Right. And eventually you'll get it.
Right. And so people, when they don't put failure in their life, they put success in things that aren't internally to them. So that's their social media, their friends, their friend circles, the way people treat them, comments on Instagram, comments on YouTube. Like they literally put themselves in these things that are external that have nothing to do with who they are internally.
Yeah.
You can only learn that if you fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
No, I mean, if the only thing you've ever had to go through was like telling your mom to pay your cell phone bill because your cell phone got cut off like that, you know what I mean?
Right.
What's going to happen one day when your mom doesn't pay your cell phone bill? Like, are you not going to get a job? Are you not going to what are you doing?
Yeah.
I lost 6 jobs.
I don't, yeah. Right.
That's a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know what I found out? I found out that I didn't want to be an engineer anymore.
Oh, there you go. So
Learn
it had
something.
purpose. There was a purpose in it.
I found out that I wanted to create my own destiny, so to speak.
Well, when you hear these stories about these kids literally having meltdowns because they can't have phones, I'm like, oh,
No,
not our kid.
Nope.
Not our kid.
It's like, you know who acts like that? Toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
That never were taught that, no, you don't get to have that because you want it. It's not about what you want.
Yeah. Our son's in that phase right now.
How old are you kids?
He just turned 7.
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right. So we're right behind you.
Yeah.
So he's starting this. Well, I want to. That's great. It wasn't a question. Like that's
my son's there.
Yeah.
God, I wanted that. I want to write a children's book.
Yeah.
Called Wants and Needs. I do that with my athletes all the time. It's like, God, I want this. Like, so no, it's the opposite. Like, I need this, Dad. I'm like, no, you want it.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yep.
Yes.
I need to have this toy. I need to lift this weight. I'm like, no, you don't. You want to.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't need it. We need to separate the difference between wants and needs. Everybody says need. Oh, I need this. It's like everybody says I deserve.
That too. Yeah.
You deserve shit.
Yeah. Right.
Nobody does. Nobody in this world deserves shit unless like something actually bad is happening to me. Like, man, they don't deserve that. I know a lot of people that don't deserve certain things that are happening to them outside of their control.
Right.
But it's like, oh, they deserve this moment. Like, no, they don't. They haven't done shit for it. Did you earn it or not?
Yeah, they just
The word's earned.
Yeah.
Also the difference between the word need.
Yep.
That's a lot of that is what's happening on our college campuses in New York right now. So if you've seen that, yeah, there's a lot of toddler-esque behavior going on from a
They
lot.
tried that at the University of Texas recently, and I think they all got removed from campus and potentially expelled.
Mhm.
Oh, yep, Texas.
Texas.
There you go.
It's
Although on a college campus, you never know, especially in Austin.
Oh, yeah,
Right, so,
Austin.
like,
Yeah,
you
oh,
know.
my cousin.
I love Texas.
Oh, no, she's there.
there's spots. There's spots.
Austin,
There's
Yeah.
some spots.
I wish the highway's bigger so I could go through it faster.
Yep. All right, last question. So we're kind of
She
wrapping it
came
around.
prepared, man.
I
She came
didn't, but I kind of
Meta.
got more
No.
questions as we as we went through the conversation. Coming back full circle, being parents.
Mm,
So we are two women raising
Yes.
a boy.
yes.
From
Oh,
a
boy.
father man perspective, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give us?
This is great. You just set me up for mansplain. How dare you guys?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
asking you to mansplain.
I'm just kidding.
no, we're turning over a new leaf over here. I
Listen.
need the direction of men.
Yeah, this podcast could use a little toxic masculinity.
That's it. I'm for it. Let's go.
As a dad or as a man to a son, that's a great question. All right, I'll put myself in my shoes with my dad. My dad was and still is a real superhero to me, right? And so like my whole childhood was like, I need to grow up and like make my dad proud. Like it's how I live my life still to this day. And for my son, it's like, okay, how do I conduct myself in front of you that you maybe perceive the same way? Not fake, but it's like, I got to be honest. I got to be truthful, strict, compassionate, like all of those things. Cause like being a dad isn't being like hardcore, like dude stuff. Right. But like with him, it's like, I'm very strict. Some would say too strict, but I'd rather be too strict and get lenient. Because if you're lenient, you can't get too strict.
Yeah.
It's a one-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't really know. That's a good question. There's no like I have to like infuse my manliness into you. Like that's not how it is. I just think it's more of like I want to empower him. And the thing is, like all these things like a woman can do, except for like show him how to pee standing up, maybe.
Oh, I did that.
No, she did. She
You
did.
can do that?
I
Yes,
taught my
she
boy
did.
how to pee standing up. Sure
Yes.
did.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
she did. Yes,
I was
I
like,
take it back. You see, another thing I don't know about women. How dare I assume you can't do that?
No, man. Most of the, like I just
she did.
I think I heard it on one of these podcasts where somewhere or whatever is like, don't let your boy pee sitting down. And like my
Dude, 2
I
days of potty training. I'm like, what are we doing?
do it.
Yeah.
And he was
Stand up.
tall
Go
enough.
pee like dad.
Go
And then
pee.
you can't get it.
Oh,
I'm
no,
like,
I can-
what did we do to him?
That's not how I did it. But like
Yeah, good for you.
no, there's gonna be none of that. But he was actually tall enough to do it anyway. He didn't
Oh, wow.
like sitting. So
Great.
bye, boy.
Well
Like,
done.
I just had it was pretty.
Honestly, I'm trying to picture it in my head.
He just I literally and so all right, fine. So I'll let all the men like
It's not going to bother
it's
me.
fine. But he was long enough. So I was like, hey buddy. He put his hands on the back of the toilet,
Yeah.
leaned over, and I was like, let it rip. And then he did it and he looked at me and he's like, yes. And I was like,
It's a proud moment. Isn't it
It
weird
was.
with like kids? Like you're so happy when they take shits.
Yes.
Dad, I got to poop. I'm like, hell yeah.
Let's go.
yeah, like
My daughter. Like, hey, Dad, I got to poop. I'm like, do it.
Yep.
you got this.
We'll celebrate the hell out of that. She says bye to it every time.
That's awesome.
She
Yeah, it's
said
great.
goodbye to it.
Bye, poop.
That's amazing.
Bye, poop.
Every time. Like it's her best. Like it's see you later. You will. They'll look different, but
That's amazing.
We're working. So obviously he would do the pants down to the ankle pee.
yeah.
We're
Oh
trying
yeah.
to get him to not drop the pants, and he's done it
Keep
a
it
couple
above the
times.
kneecaps, right? You got the waistband in there. Just keep it above the knees.
Yep.
Yeah.
He did it for the first 2 times when he peed outside. It was like the first 2 times he peed outside.
Yeah.
Because he had to pee in the car and he had to pull the car over.
So
and I was
proud.
like, "Oh, you're a boy. You can do this. We couldn't,
Yeah.
you can do this, dude. This is
The world is our urinal.
yeah,
That's it.
man."
That's it.
And he did it, and he
Animals do it,
right.
right?
He
So
just
proud.
we were so
He's so proud.
I
and we're
was so proud.
Yeah.
I was like, my son peed outside. What's up?
I'm still trying to think of the answer, like of something that like you
Well,
can do
I'm asking
differently. Or-
because so many times you see and you hear
Mhm.
that 2 women or a single mom can't raise a man. That's the narrative of what's being held. So I always like to ask strong men.
I think the reason why I'm not coming up with an answer because I don't believe that.
Mm.
Right? Like
Thank you.
you can teach all the things I teach my son, and it's just lessons learned. It may come off a little easier to like see and do just because like, hey, we're the same,
Mhm.
right? But no, there's not a prerequisite that it'd be like saying like I can't raise a daughter.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be a girl, but damn, I'm gonna treat you like one,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm gonna raise you strong, independent, like however you turn out to be, whatever your personality, whatever road you take us on.
Mhm.
But like there's no 2 women can't raise a strong young man,
Yeah.
right?
Appreciate that.
I don't have it's like, oh, we got to teach him this. I'm like, you can do that. Or you got to think about this. Like, yeah. So no, there's not any of that, in my opinion.
Cool.
Do I embarrass myself one more time
You
Yes,
can. You've
please.
told this story so many times, but go ahead. You can embarrass.
Great story on Savon.
about taking their son to the doctors when his penis no,
wasn't
not
a
his
penis.
penis, his balls disappeared.
Oh, well, the balls they don't come out for till you're like.
No, he had a giant sack when he was born.
So he's like all balls.
He was all balls.
That's probably where his penis went. It's just like pulling all the skin back.
His
And just,
penis didn't go anywhere. It was just
so he's like
his
he's good to go.
balls. He'll be good. Yeah,
He'll be
but he was only like he'll be fine. He was only like 2 months.
Now, when you got like the sperm donor, was that like on the a la carte menu?
No.
I don't even know how that goes.
You just look it up online. It's yes, it is
You're like I want him tall,
you.
brown
Oh, yeah.
hair,
Yep.
large penis.
Yes,
Well, the penis size wasn't on it,
but
but
you can tell
I
by
think it should be.
yeah, like
the donor is all of her physical characteristics, her height, her
Oh,
weight,
yeah.
her skin
Cool.
color, eye color. And if you see our son, he looks
Yeah.
just like her. Like
he's
it's
got it.
insane.
You think
Yep.
it's he
When he was younger.
Everybody says, "Oh, he's gonna be tall, Garrett, just like you," and I'm like, none of my genes are in there, but okay,
You're like, cool.
I'll take it. Whatever.
I play that game with my wife. Is we play the "This Is Your Fault" game,
Oh,
Oh.
yes.
and all the game is anytime the kids do something awful or unathletic or stupid, it's me. But anytime they just kill it,
It's her.
It's her.
that's
That's for
and
mom.
most of the time she's actually right. Like if my son trips over something and like bangs his shin or falls or he clumsy, I'm like, "Yo, that's
I gotta claim
will
that.
be forever." I'm sorry.
You got to do it because they pushed our big-headed babies out, so you have to give them that. Whatever's good, what in
Dude,
them is.
I will never, I don't want to say never, but after watching both, I was like, I am the world's biggest pussy compared to you. Like what it was, never, I'll never ever.
Did you think that with your first one? Did you think that that she was having twins? Because when
Like how big she was.
no. I didn't-
Well, yeah, I did feel huge.
she was big, but no,
Because I saw someone with twins, I was like, that is next level.
Insane.
no, because the baby, our son came out,
Mm.
and then the doctor starts telling her to push again, and
Oh.
then the placenta comes
right.
out, and I'm like,
Pull
what do
out
you
like
mean to
the-
push again? Why is she pushing again?
Did
The
your
airbag?
Nothing else
did your
in there.
doctor hold it up like this too?
No, they were like my son's birth was quite eventful.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah. I won't get into too much detail because I'll embarrass my wife, and I won't do that.
Right.
But I was in the room with only one nurse, and then she came over. She like went out and came back, and she's like, "All right, time to push." And I was like, "Cool. Where are your friends? I'm staying. I'm staying at neck level team." And she's like, "Grab the right leg. I'm getting the left." And I was like, "Don't you have stirrups for this?" "No, you're a human." I was a human stirrup. So it's just me, a nurse, and my wife, just trying to bring my son into the world.
Mhm.
And that was, yeah. I was like, I should probably just soak this all in. And so, like, when you're like, "Oh, I don't want to go there," I'm like, "Trust me, I've gone there.
Been there, yeah.
I've seen it. Whatever you want to call that abyss situation. Like I've seen everything."
Yeah,
They made me grab a leg too. Yeah, that's how it
That's
goes.
your
man.
job. That's your job. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't mean I'm not alluding to like female parts when I say abyss. I'm just like, I've seen the other side of the fence. And now
Our doctor,
whatever used to bother me, nothing.
she popped his head out, and then our doctor was like, "Okay, everybody take a break." So
Yeah.
I'm still holding her leg, but
I'm
the
like, "Let
nurse
go."
put her leg back down. She's breathing, relaxing. There's a whole head hanging out. The doctor's stretching like he's Johnny Bench somewhere. And I'm like, what the fuck is there's
I
a
had to tell her, I'm like, "Let
She
go
was
of
like,
my
"Let-"
leg."
Yeah.
it felt
Yeah,
like
there
we
was
were there
no
for
break.
10 minutes. And it wasn't. It was probably 30 seconds, but I'm like,
Right.
there's a head.
Yeah.
Are we not?
Yeah. And then there's you where a head is just hanging out of you.
What?
There's no crying. There's no nothing yet. She's like, "What's wrong with my kid?"
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife, she pushed for a long, like to the max before they were like going to say, "Hey, C-section or suction." Like we took it to the line. It's like 2 or 3 hours, I think.
Oh no.
And when it finally happened, it's like head came out and they were like, "Okay, I don't know what it is about pausing from the head." And she was like, "Absolutely not. This
Let's go.
baby is coming out." And so it was like head and then
Shoulders.
baby.
Yep.
Like it was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took him away. So like I didn't see anything for it was probably 30 seconds, but felt like
Yeah.
5 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, my wife is
It's crazy, right?
a superhuman being, and
For
I
sure.
will never think otherwise for the rest of my life.
Rock star.
Yeah.
Rock star.
Before I just thought she was, this small little athlete that, I was like, whatever, 5'5", can't handle this.
And what are you, like 6'2"?
I'm 6'2", yeah.
Jesus.
6'2", 215.
How much does your kids weigh?
They weren't that big. They're like 7.
Oh, okay.
Pretty normal.
God.
Yeah.
Apparently my sperm is more potent because our baby came out at 9 pounds. So
Dude.
yeah.
One of my good friends that I work with, their daughter just came out at like 10, 8.
Oh,
Nope.
Something like near 11-pound baby
Nope.
out of a woman that shouldn't have an 11-pound baby
Isn't
inside
like
her.
a 4 foot something woman, like a 5.
She's like, I can't remember how tall she is, but she's
It's tiny.
yeah. Like when I saw the picture, I'm like, is she okay?
yeah.
She's great. I'm like, no, is your wife okay? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
was it like Aliens? Where
God bless her, man.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
nuts.
He was huge. He was huge.
Yeah.
Baby. Oh, God.
Thank you, dude. I
You're
really
welcome.
do appreciate
was
it.
so
guys. I
I
appreciate
can't
it.
believe we went for an hour and 45 minutes. Holy crap. That
Well,
was
like you said, with Lauren Khalil, guys tend to talk way too much. If you don't think I watch the other podcast, to be prepared for this.
That's right. That's right.
my fault. My fault. All right. Thank you so much, dude.
You're
Really
welcome. Thanks for having me.
appreciate you. It was
Yes,
great.
it was nice to meet you.
You guys as well.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God. He caught me, dude. That wasn't he got me for sure. Holy crap.
We're still on.
All right,
Thanks, guys. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really awesome. Super fun to have you. I'm sorry. He told me not to get into the comments, so I didn't. I really wanted to.
That's all right. I think
I wanted to ask him about the casting couch someone asked back at the top.
Yeah, well, I made sure to ask Jeffrey number 1. He wanted me to ask, like, how does he feel
oh good.
like knowing or like growing up in the space and being famous and whatever. So I was able to ask that question for him. So
Okay.
but listen,
Hey,
We did
listen,
it. We did it.
what Chase says, he's a bigger man than me. What he says, I just did what he told me to do.
It was a great show, and we appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much,
hanging
everybody.
with us.
Appreciate you. Oh, good job, Augustus. That was a great question, by the way. I was gonna ask it.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys so much.
Next time, it's just another way to get them to come back and hang out with us again. So
Yeah,
we'll do it again soon. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Deuces.
Bye.